I think the first thing you guys had said that you would like to talk about is basically what are the HBCUs, what they represent, and that sort of structure. So
Okay.
whoever wanted to jump on that first, let's get going.
Okay, well, John, first we want to thank you so much for having us, but I think it's important that we understand how HBCUs came about, and HBCU stands for Historically Black Colleges and Universities. It was back in the early 1900s, in 1964 is where HBCUs were established, and it was because of the lack of wanting to provide or allow African Americans to enter into higher educational institutions. That's why it was established from the very beginning, to allow access to education. So with that being said, we also want you to know that over 50% of public schools are actually taught by HBCU graduates, by African Americans, and over 70% of your dentists have received degrees from HBCU. So I just think it's really important to understand HBCUs in this day and age have done tremendous things for the African American population. So with that being said, and as I will continue to give you statistics, let's just talk about some of our notable people that all people can relate to. Your Oprah Winfrey graduated and went to an HBCU. Taraji P. Henson, P. Diddy Combs, Alice Walker, Toni Morrison, W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King, Langston Hughes. I think it's important that we know that the people, those are the shoulders in which we stand on. And then we can go even more in depth when we talk about in the NFL and the NBA. So many notable athletes have started at HBCUs. So it is dear to my heart. Although I went to a PWI stands for Predominantly White Institution. It is an honor that I have the opportunity now to coach at an HBCU, just because the culture is different. And I think Rose will tell you, when you come to an HBCU, when we say it takes a village to raise a child, what you'll see is that when you enter on an HBCU, you'll see from student affairs, from the training room, faculty and staff, it takes a village. All of those people across that campus, all the way down to the janitors, are invested and committed in seeing those students graduate. Would you agree, Rose?
I agree with that. And as Penny, as you was talking about, the people that has come from the HBCUs, and we talked about the Oprah Winfreys, and then you start talking about the athletes that's coming from the HBCUs. At Alabama A&M, all by itself, we have the John Stallworth. We have Robert Mathis. We have Louis Cruz, that all have come from just Alabama A&M by itself, that has done great things along the way and continue to do great things in our area for the kids. And the village, you talk about the village, everybody is invested in those kids, trying to get them through and across that stage and going into the next part of their life, because they are going to go to the next part of their life at that point. And we, being the coaches at the HBCUs, we have to do great mentorships with them. We're the mothers, we're the sisters to them. We are just trying to take them and help them understand that there's another part of their life that they're going through at that point. I think at the HBCUs, we have a lot of things that come on campus. Big businesses come onto campus so that once they cross that stage, they have a position to go to afterwards.
I think just adding that, we've now two former champions, Reggie Barlow, was one of our former football coaches who won a championship. Don't ask me what NFL team, but he's a dear friend of mine. But recently we just hired Mo Williams, who is our new men's basketball coach, who won a championship with LeBron James for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think what's about to happen, because you just look across, you got Johnny Jones, an LSU standout and an LSU grad that was there when Rose and I was there, is now the head coach at Texas Southern. The level of competition that you see at HBCUs now is phenomenal, and we've seen in recent years the upsets that have come forth, and especially in men's basketball in March Madness. And so I can just go on and on about the beautiful things that are going on the campuses of HBCUs. But then let's talk about the educational piece. I think the beautiful part about the educational piece at HBCUs is, for us, we have forensic science. We're very, very strong in forensic science on my campus. There's a waiting list to get in our physical therapy school, which is pretty awesome as well. And then you have at our school where they just brought this big funding for prosthetics, where the kids are on hand making and designing prosthetics for just for the future. So there's so many things, and I am a proud coach of many, many graduates. I know I hold one of the highest graduate percentages on campus. But I talk about my kids. I've had Amber Bennett to go on to play in Denmark, after playing volleyball here at Alabama State. We have a Mila Marshall, who is now Dr. Mila Marshall, who helped me win our first SWAC championship here. She's now a pharmacist. We have Jamie Coleman, who did learning over in Oxford and London, and she did a couple things at Harvard, who's now working for Google. And when we talk about the big businesses that comes on our campuses that exposes our kids to corporate America has been phenomenal. I would say we know that athletes who are persistent, who's assertive, who has great self-esteem, they're not afraid to go and interview with those people, because that's what our laboratory has designed them for, is to be assertive, is to be a winner, is to step out and lead. And so that has allowed them to further their career when leaving and graduating from our beautiful institutions.
And I want to say a little bit on that. Alabama A&M's, our motto is to start here and go anywhere. And we see that the kids do. We start at the HBCU and we go all over. We have a lot of the kids that do the technology. In Alabama, in Huntsville area, we have, the high tech. We have NASA, and we have Hudson and Alpha, which is a research company. So those companies are there waiting for our athletes and student athletes to come out and start the workforce. But to go into talking about coaching at the HBCU, I think, yes, there's some things that we're challenged with. Okay, we're challenged with sometimes the facilities, because they're from the older, the alumni love the older buildings and won't let us tear them down very often. So facilities can be some issue when we're recruiting athletes to come. They want to go to the big schools that have the arenas and stuff like that. And some of us don't have the arenas, but we are still producing the same things. We're producing a good product on the court, off the court. But sometimes the challenges of being limited resources. We're told that often we have limited resources. But even with those limited resources, our HBCUs are definitely pushing out and putting out the things that we need our kids to do. But coaching wise, I'm very proud to coach at, and very excited always. When I got the job at Alabama A&M, I was very excited about being able to come back and sow seeds into the HBCU athletic department at this point. And I talked with Penny and I talked with Ruth whenever the job came open. Should I apply for the job? Should I apply? Because I was comfortable at, Martin Methodist for 17 years, and it was a diverse university. But Alabama A&M was 5 minutes from my house. So I decided I'm going to just take this and I'm going to go with it. And I know that I can sow a seed into some young women, whether they be African American, whether they're Caucasian. We've had Brazilians. We've had well-diverse programs, not only just African American kids go to the HBCUs. And that's what we want. I would want people to understand that our university is still very diverse, and our teams are very diverse. This year was my first year having a full African American team. But my 6 years, my 5 years prior to that, always it had Caucasian kids on it. It had Brazilian kids on it. It had Turkish kids on it. But and we still performed, and they enjoyed their stay at the HBCU also.
Okay.
The only thing that gets me, I'm sorry, John, did you want to say something?
Well, the thing I was going to ask is, and partly this is reflecting of some of my own ignorance, is, and maybe others think this way or don't understand the geography of HBCUs. There's easily a tendency to think it's just a Southern thing. Obviously, you both are in Alabama. You think about the major football programs and the Battle of the Bands and all that. That's very Southern. But in fact, there are HBCUs all over the country. That's
correct. There's 106 HBCUs in the country. 106.
Yes.
Can you guys give people a sense of where they're located?
Sure, I can. You ready for this? We have 100 HBCUs across 20 states, and those states are Alabama, Arkansas, California, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. And Michigan.
There's a couple of different. California, I had no idea.
Yes, sir.
A couple of the other ones in northern states I was aware of, but California I didn't know. So I'm learning something. That's why we do these things.
That's why we do them.
And one of the interesting developments in the last year or so has been the addition of men's volleyball at several HBCUs. Thanks to
that was entered at the Division II level, and that's going to be outstanding once we get past COVID-19, so we can see what that's going to, roll out to look like. But I think it's going to be a beautiful thing. What it does is it opens up opportunity, because there's been African Americans playing volleyball. Kyle Robinson, our Dexter Rogers. We can go on, but there was very few opportunities to allow them to play, let's say, unless you were the elite of the elite. But what's going to happen now is you got Division II allowing men's to play volleyball. Now we're going to open the door for every level to play and allow them to grow.
Yeah, very good. That's as you say, once we get past COVID and figure out where everything is, it's going to be interesting to see how it changes the landscape. And hopefully there'll be more coming along behind that. Rose, you talked a bit about how you ended up where you are. Penny, why don't you give people an idea how you ended up at where you're at?
Before coming here, I spent 15 years, 14 seasons at the United States Air Force Academy. I have taken every leadership lesson that I've learned, and I brought it here, and it completely changed the way I coach, because prior to the United States Air Force Academy, I was at the University of Memphis. I was there for 5 years, and that's where I first entered as a head coach, because prior to that I was at Auburn University as an assistant. But I say my biggest life lessons came for me at the Air Force Academy, because I learned so much about what leadership looks like, acts like, walks like, talks like, and how it developed leaders to come after you. And I took those lessons and have since brought it here. And I only gave you 2 of my former players that have gone on to do great things, but I can go down the list. We have a Brooke Beasley Carter, who is now an assistant athletic director and head women's volleyball coach at Mississippi University for Women. I have a Corey Cooch, and I want to note that Brooke Beasley Carter is Caucasian. She was the first setter to actually assist us or help us win our first SWAC championship. Then we have a Corey Cooch, who parents played volleyball. Her mother played volleyball at Washington, and her dad played volleyball at Long Beach State. Caucasian, come here to set and run an offense for me. And she wins 3 championships during her 4 years. And she's now in occupational therapy, getting her master's degree in occupational therapy school. And I can just go on and on about, our diverse team. I've had Filipino, I've had Brazilian, and one of my Brazilians is now in Denver, Colorado in law school. I can go on and on. I have a Puerto Rican kid from Puerto Rico who's now at UAB getting her master's on the medical side. Just phenomenal, diverse teams that have taken advantage of what HBCUs have to offer.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the recruiting side of things. You guys, Rose was talking about the facilities challenges because you've got older facilities and buildings people don't want to change for historical reasons. It's fair enough. I coached in the Ivy League. There are a bunch of them in the Ivy League. So I know what that's all about.
Right.
In terms of the type of student athletes you guys are going after, we could start in the African American community as an initial, because that's going to be probably the bulk of your recruiting, and then we'll address the rest of
John,
us, everybody else.
But that's where I think you may. Because when you look at some of our teams, it's funny you say that. I know when you look at our soccer team at Alabama State, we're an HBCU, but when you look out there on the field, it doesn't look like a team of your typical HBCU, so to speak, because of how diverse it is. But it's majority Caucasians on that team.
Okay.
So I don't want anybody to think that we're limited to only recruiting African Americans. However, we are here to cater to African Americans, so to speak, because of our tradition and why we exist in the first place. But when you come, we have our niche. That I would call that a niche. When I coached at the Air Force Academy, I was looking for the top 10% of their class. They have to make a minimum of a 26 on their ACT score. That was a very minuscule group. And when we walked out, when we're on the road recruiting, I think it opens up our door when we're recruiting now at the HBCU. Would you agree, Rose?
I agree with that. I think now on the recruiting side of things, I think that when we're out recruiting, we're looking for those same type of kids that go to the PWI.
Come on.
Now, the thing that has changed over the years is that club volleyball. When we go to the recruiting sites, we only see a few African Americans on some of the teams. And those are the kids everybody is after, too. Not only just me, but if I see a 5-star kid out there, shoot, Penn State is over there after her, I might as well get up and walk on to the other side because they're looking at Penn State, Penn State that showed up. I was looking at a kid one time, and the coach had called me and said, Rose, here's a kid. Nobody has seen her. She is all that in a bag of chips. She's never played club. She's only played basketball. Shoot. I go over there and sit down first thing in the morning. A few minutes later, she goes up and pounds a few balls. Everybody showed up. I'm like, I thought you just called me. But everybody showed up now. And then I see Russ Rose come over there and sit down. I said, I might as well get on up and go to the other side of the building. Find that other kid that those people are not looking, the Russ Roses and the Stanfords and Texas is not looking at. So we have to find the kid that's going to fit into our program, that like the HBCU, that Penny talked about the grades, that the high standards. our standards are high. We want the kid that's making a 23 or 24 on the ACT too. We want those kids also. And they're out there, and we may have to search a little harder to find them. They may not be at the club program because they're playing basketball and doing other things, but we are looking for those kids to come in that has a 24 on the ACT. I take, one at-risk kid every now and then. But a kid that does not make the 24 or the 23 on the ACT. But we're looking for that because the NC2A says we have some standards that we have to abide by also. Just because we are an HBCU does not mean that the standard is lower. We have to meet the NC2A rules also. We have to progress toward degree. The kids have to pass classes. They have to retain at school. We have to have those same type of kids. So we have to interview and we have to watch and evaluate kids also.
And I would like to add, so when we are recruiting, we're going to find probably the kid that may be a little bit undersized, or maybe a little bit less developed, where we don't mind spending that time in developing her. And the kid that's a little bit undersized but have great athleticism, has a good upside to him, then those other kids, that's our niche right there. That would be our niche. But we also want those kids to come from a strong family background that's going to be an ally, that's going to support us pushing that kid and understand our ultimate goal is that these kids graduate. They may not play. I'll tell the parent on one of the very first conversations I have, she may not ever step a foot on my court, but I will provide her, make sure that we provide her with every resource there is to graduate. And if that kid does not graduate, trust me, it wasn't because we didn't give her the support that she needed. It was because she did not show up. But a kid that shows up will graduate.
All right. While we're on the topic, we've got a question from Gordon. Wondering, since you're both from Alabama, what's the regional focus of your recruiting, if there is any?
Oh my gosh, I recruit everywhere. Like I said, I just graduated a kid from Puerto Rico a year ago. We go, Rose and I both, we go everywhere. And I had a kid from Czechoslovakia. I've had a kid from Brazil. There are no limitations. And I will say this, when Rose said limited resource, sometimes, depending on what sport, that may or may not pertain to us. And I think because we have established ourselves that we have had the support needed to reach and go wherever we need to go to get the best kids for the best fit for our program.
Yes, I have kids from Brazil, Turkey. I have one on the team now from Barbados. I had one on the team last year from Colombia. So there's no limit. We can go, and we do have the support from my AD and the school that, like you said, we've established ourselves that we can handle the program, and they kind of allow us to do a little bit more maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing how success will give you resources.
Yeah, that's a key. That is key.
Well, and I think it's fairly representative of Division I that you have to recruit nationally and internationally in some cases. Now, I would venture to say that it's probably not a lot of D1 programs that are only regional in their nature, even if their school is perceived as being a regional school.
But I will say this, and I have to give kudos to the rich tradition of most HBCUs. The alumni are so excited to see a program growing. If you are lacking in any shape, form, or way, they are willing to also allow us to fundraise, as well as them give back to specific sports in the foundation that would allow us to be able to do more. And so that's really important to know as well. I think if you as a coach are willing to work hard to get your program up and coming, I just don't think a coach should walk on campus and say, I want this, 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 and this. Not at an HBCU, but that I'm willing to work and do whatever it takes to produce leaders and competitors, and just let me know, point me in the right direction, and I'll make it happen.
Okay.
Hey, John, I have a question off of Facebook.
Okay. All right.
This is from Dave. He loves asking questions. Dave, we'd love to have you.
Thanks, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
How much easier or harder is it to coach a player with a 27 or 28 score rather than a 22? At first, I thought it was 27, 28-inch jump. But no, this is a player with a 27 or 28 score rather than a 22.
Talking about ACT scores?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Rose, you want to take it first, and then I'll come behind you.
Okay, so for me, I've had several kids with some 4.0 GPAs and a 32 and a 34 on the ACT. They work very hard. They go after it. They understand when I'm making changes on some things. And I think that coaching the kid that's with the 22, they're physical, they're doing, and they're making sure that they're doing the right things. But that kid that got my 26 and 28 and my 32, they know how to solve problems very quickly. They know how to process information very quickly. So I can give the information to them. You see their brains just going, and they're processing the information. They're trying to figure out how they're going to make this point, where sometimes the other kid is just out there just playing the game. So that's what I see sometimes with the difference with a 22 versus a 36. They process the information so quick, and they're trying to solve the problem very quickly.
Ditto. Ditto. They can problem solve. And your other kids, and those other kids you can just talk to. And then you have the other kids you have to teach. You have to be willing as a coach, I think, to come at it different ways. I have some that are cerebral, and some have to learn on the job. You have to set up, they have to walk through it, go through it several times. Why does he keep blocking me? Well, Muffin, that block is not going to move. You're going to have to move the ball around it. And it doesn't mean you have to bang it 100 miles per hour. Whereas your 32 ACT score, hey, the good thing about her, she's going to tell her while she's airborne how to solve that problem. So it's pretty cool. There's slight difference, but that's the fun about coaching different kids.
I forgot to tell you, the 22 ACT has a 42-inch jump.
Jump
and she
higher.
goes up and bang the ball.
Jump higher.
Give me the ball, let me hit it. That's what she wants to do.
Having come from, as I mentioned before, coaching in the Ivy League, where you get a bunch of those kids, yes, they definitely process information more quickly. The downside can be they can be a bit more perfectionist than the other players, so you sometimes have to get them out of their own heads and get them to loosen up and be more expressive and just go out and have fun sometimes and not think so much. I think there was an assistant at Harvard. I think it was before I actually got into the Ivy League, but he was telling a story at a camp among the cadre or something along those lines, about how he was on the bus with the team after they had lost a tight 5-setter, and it was just he was obviously really frustrated, and he just kind of yelled at him, sometimes I wish you guys weren't so smart, because they can sometimes get in their own ways a little bit. They overthink things a little too much.
Yeah.
So it goes in both directions. Yeah.
It does. And it's funny is I would say Ruth should have answered the question. I'll never forget playing with Maureen Morrick and Leah Bennett at one point. Maureen sets me the ball, and I'm going up, and I just crush it. And it hits like the 10th brick up on the back wall, never touched the end line, just still floating. And I was like, set me again. Maureen just kind of looked at me. No, not. But ask Ruth that question, Ruth. What's the difference?
Hey, I'm going to diverge. Ann Schilling, LaToya, Deetra, Mark Royster, and Don Barnes says hello, but Mark has a question. Tell Rose and Penny hello, and I'm so proud of them. Morgan, my daughter, is going to Prairie View A&M, we've got to figure out why she's going there, this coming year, and my niece is going to Alabama State University this year.
Now, who's her niece?
Mark Royster.
Was that a question, or was that just a statement?
Oh, Awesome.
That was a statement.
Awesome. Oh.
That's pretty cool.
All right. Now I got to try to figure out where I was trying to go.
Hey, John, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. What I've been thinking about was there are situations where schools are a bit more niche. For example, women's colleges, where that's it. It's you're recruiting all women to go to a women's college, and so you have to have a certain sales process as part of it, obviously, to sell the benefits of that sort of school, and also have an understanding of who is most likely to be a good candidate for you. So is there any sense of that with the HBCUs in terms of, obviously, you guys have both been doing a really good job about the sales side of things and expounding on the benefits of HBCUs, but is there anything on the student-athlete side of things where there's a sense of this type of candidate is a really good fit for an HBCU, or at least at your institution?
I think a couple things. I think, and I know this for sure, when I first got here, because I mean, school started, we started training like on August 5th or 6th, and I got here on August 4th. So, you know, I go through the whole school year. I think for me at first, I was selling the kid me and what I brought to the program with both about pedigrees. I think it's important that we first attack it on what we do. But as I know, as I continued working here, once I got the kid on campus, it's a beautiful sale, because what you do is you take away all of the pretension of what they assume is here, and you lay out the red carpet and you show them all of the rich tradition, all of the phenomenal majors that we offer, and where people go after training here and winning here and graduating from here. But once we get them on campus, I think those that knew nothing about HBCUs were very pleasantly surprised. And then now my approach is slightly different. I approach it with the leadership skills that they would have once they leave here, along with a beautiful degree and a great future ahead of them. Rose?
I think the same with that. Once I get them on campus and they see the tradition, the beauty of the campus, you know, because sometimes they think that, oh, maybe we don't have the beauty of the campus. And Alabama A&M is a beautiful campus.
It is.
And it's a very, very beautiful campus. And once you get them on campus and you do show them the things that we have to offer, the history, they walk the campus, we talk about where the first building of Alabama A&M, and it started in one building, and now it is all over a whole hill. I mean, and we call it the Hill, and it's over a whole block. It's in its own area code, because Alabama A&M is in a place called Normal, Alabama, and it is just the campus. And so once we start to show them the beauty of the campus, the education that comes with being at Alabama A&M, we get the kids, they're excited about it, they get excited about it, the parents get excited about it, and then that's whenever we can pull those kids in once we show them. And yes, the sell pitch, of course, you know, winning the championships, where our goals and stuff are, what we like to do athletically. But at the end of the day, athletics is only going to last for 4 years for them. What's going to happen to them afterwards? And once we get them to understand that their education is important, that degree is important for them, and that they can go anywhere from here, that's whenever that kid is sold.
And your biggest testimony is your kids, because I don't have a problem with that kid staying in the dorm with my kids. That's your best pitch. When your athletes tell them what it's like playing here. You know, when they go, they call theirs the hill, we call ours the yard. So when they go out on the yard And don't forget about the fraternity and the sorority experience, the sisterhood and the brotherhood experience. That's huge on HBCUs. I myself am a Delta. Of course, playing for Ruth, we didn't have all that extra time to go pledge. What? So I pledged after I graduated, and I became a Delta. So I'm a part of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, and it is a phenomenal sisterhood nationwide. So when my kids come on campus, and my assistant is an AKA, Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I know for those that understand HBCUs and sororities, they understand those acronyms, but what's pretty cool is the connection that you will have for a lifetime. And so what I've allowed is that my kids get to pledge, listen, Ruth Nelson, their senior year, that spring semester on the way out. But I support them 100%. But it is a beautiful experience.
It is. The brotherhood, the sisterhood for the clubs and stuff, oh, it's huge. Huge on the HBCUs.
Yes.
Ruth, is there any way that you can show, like screen share that picture that you've got?
Yes, bigger.
So people can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. I had a question too, because I want to tell you that I have a player that I trained since she was in 7th grade, and she played for Penny. And she graduated with a 4.0, Scout Wongsang. And the first time she got there, she said to me, she texted me, she said, Ruth, can you tell me who Nelson Mandela is? And I sent a picture of Nelson Mandela and Eunice Kennedy Shriver. And I said, I'm not going to tell you. You Google it. All right, let me see. It's not letting me. Can I do all panelists?
Wait a minute. Are you trying to do it on the on that other account? Let me see.
I think you have to switch. She has to become a host.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me try this.
Okay.
All right, there we go. All right.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so this for all, and I get 30 seconds, John. If you don't know who Penny is, Penny played 3 years at LSU. She was also a graduate student at Auburn. She played on the national team. I sent her to Germany. I won't tell you why I sent her to Germany to play, but she happens to be up there at the net in middle front like she's watching, standing up straight. And Rose is number 14.
Supporting Rose.
Yeah, you were. And Rose is number 14. And Rose played 3 years at Houston for me and then 1 year at LSU. So Penny and Rose played together. And then Rose went on to the 1984 Olympic team. But that was when we were at LSU. And that's a picture. We were wearing Adidas shoes that we basically painted purple and gold stripes on our shoes. That was the olden days. And we had bun huggers on. But that's Penny and Rose together.
Now, was that the LSU gym?
No. Oh, no. That was like in Alabama. It wasn't at Texas Southern, but it was at Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's funny because Rose and I remember that we had decided to commit block, and so my kid didn't get set. So, yeah, isn't that right, Rose?
That's right. We decided that. In the middle
and so
of the
I was covering her.
Yeah, in the middle of the play, we decided, okay, I can take her on my own.
And I'll take mine.
You take the middle. Yes,
absolutely.
And I'll take care of the block.
You're ganging up on me and you can't even see me.
No, I'm just saying that's what we decided to do.
We used to talk like that. Yeah. That's what we decided. Yeah.
We had to process information quickly and solve the problem.
That's right. We were problem solvers.
Oh, that's right. You are definitely, you are solution makers now.
That's right. That's right. That is so right.
Ruth, did you have a question?
No, that actually was, I was going to tell about Scout because that's a true story because Scout said to me, she goes, I want to play for Penny. And I said, Scout, you've been with me since 7th grade. That's 7th, 8th, all 4 years, at 6 years. Are you sure you want to go to a predominantly black school? Because I want to make sure she understands that. She goes, it doesn't matter to me. And I said, okay. She went there 3 years, graduated 4.0 on the president's list and said she would never change it to a day. But she does know who Nelson Mandela is now, though.
That's good.
You know, and
go ahead, Rose.
Okay, so you know, and looking at this picture, and Penny and I, the problem solvers at that point,
right?
You know, back in those days of that picture, I didn't have the opportunity to play club ball, but when I got to, even in high school, I knew how to play every position. I knew I was a setter in high school too, and I could pass and I could play defense. When I got to University of Houston, Ruth Nelson, she continued to teach me how to pass, play defense, hit, set, and do everything. So the thing that I would say to anybody that's out coaching the players, the African-American players that's jumping 42 inches, let's teach them how to do everything. Teach them how to pass, teach them how to play defense. Just because they can go up and bang a ball, still give them the opportunity that they can still pass and they can play defense and stuff like that also. Not just hit the ball up. They can set
and run an offense, because what happens is, let's talk about that. You all the time we want to put a circle into a square peg, and it doesn't have to be like that. And that's why Brazil is so successful. Is because from a very young age, Brazil teach them how to do everything. And thank God we still have Ruth Nelson training young girls around that teaches all skills. And I know for a fact, when I'm in the club setting, I teach all skills. I know that I had a kid that played for me, just graduated. And that was the key, is that she could set, she could play middle, play left, play right. She could play in the back row. And that's why we went to that triangle. But it was because she had all skills, not just because she had the highest vertical on the team. So,
having
encourage all skills.
Yeah, having recruited in Texas, and I'm sure this is similar in a lot of other places as well. One of the things that frustrated me, not so much as a recruiter per se, but just generally as a volleyball coach and a volleyball person, was seeing the athletic middle who was undersized from a college perspective. Like, she was never going to be big enough to be a college middle.
That's right. But
because she was athletic, because she could jump or move a little bit faster than the others, she got stuck in the middle on her juniors team, maybe her high school team too as well, and so never developed the rest of the game.
That's right.
So you look at this really talented athlete and go, I wish you played another position so I could recruit you.
Yeah.
That's it was so frustrating.
Because you have to look at it as an investment. So if I invest in this kid, I'm probably only going to get 2 years out of her, because it's going to take 2 years to take this undersized kid that have not had enough touches on the ball to benefit me or to break through to get on the court as an outside hitter or whatever. But that is so true. And I think it's important, as when parents, that's where education come in. Don't let them just stick your kid always in the middle because she's the most athletic kid on the court. My daughter, 5'7.5", they stuck her in the middle. So I know, I started training her and I said, she will not be a middle, because I knew she wasn't going to grow. She wasn't going to be 6'2" or up. So we taught her how to do all things. And she's a pin hitter, play all the way around at MSU Denver. And it doesn't always have to be at a D1 program. They can have a beautiful career playing and be academically strong at D2, at NAIA, at JUCO, at D3. They're all out there. I'm not just an advocate for just D1. I'm an advocate for education and a great career academically and athletically.
And I think that, making sure that they can do everything, it will help everybody, the HBCU schools that's getting these undersized kids, and, being able to utilize them more than just for 2 years, like Penny says, because you've got to spend time to train them and mold them to understand the game better. When I got to Alabama A&M, there was a kid there named Ashandria McNeil, an awesome middle. When I got there, she had never served. The first year, she had never served in a game situation, had never played back row. Athletic as all outdoors. So once we finished that season, I said, Sean, and we had our meeting. I said, Sean, I think you can be the MVP of the conference. She said, Coach, them some big shoes you want me to do because I never even served. I haven't played back row. How am I going to do that? I said, you trust me? She says, I trust you. So we diligently started working on serving and playing back row and hitting out of the back row, hitting on the left side, stuff like that. For the next 2 years, she was the MVP.
Yes.
Of the conference that did great things. When we played against University of Houston, they didn't know what to do with her. She had 17 kills like in the first game, just bam, 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 bam. But just teaching her, giving her the opportunity, not making her stand off to the side whenever they're doing passing and defense. Get them involved. Get them all involved. And I think the game of volleyball will continue to grow like it is growing and not keep pigeonholing every kid that we have.
Stop specializing these kids at young ages. Okay, we're on our soapbox, but really, stop specializing these kids at young ages. Give them an option to be more marketable than just what, and if you can't do it, then go to some clinics or something, but you've got to start thinking outside of the box and stop specializing kids at such a young age.
Yeah.
Okay, John, it's called one-dimensional players.
That's right. Well, and you know, Penny, you mentioned sending a player to play in Denmark. I actually coached against some Danish teams when I was coaching in Sweden. And one of the things, you know, I recruited 3 American players to my team. One a center, one a middle, and I had to recruit an outside as well. And when I was going through that process and looking at a bunch of American college players, I needed a 6 rotation outside hitter. You can't get around that when you're playing outside the U.S. Yeah. So I'm looking at players who were capable of obviously being very good attacking players and had really good careers in college. But if I looked at them and I couldn't tell that they'd ever played the back row in their statistics, how am I going to take a chance on that?
That's
so
right.
if as college coaches we're looking to what the players are going to be able to do after they leave us, we have to account for the fact for some of them that might be going to play volleyball.
Yeah.
You know, and if we're doing them a disservice by just only pigeonholing them to playing 3 rotations or middles who can't serve or all these sorts of things that are part of the game beyond college. We need to extend that philosophy everywhere.
I totally agree with you. And with all of these different opportunities that are on the rise now, with the professional league coming up in February, with the opportunities to go abroad, you've got to make sure if they're going to spend those kind of hours in the gym, and with us having more than one court, almost everybody have more than one court in their gym at the collegiate level, make sure they're getting those other touches, but they're getting the touches that they need.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that way too. Yeah. No, go ahead.
The HBCUs, we're the ones getting those undersized players, and we need them to be able to do 6 rotations and have an opportunity. I have one that's from Houston. She'd go in and serve, great serve, but if you hit the ball back there to her, we'd have lost. And Penny figured that out when we're playing. She serves, let her get the ball. Hit it back there to her middle back. She'll never take, or left back, she'll never get that ball. So, but she has a great serve. So I tell her, I say, you got to go back and serve an ace right now. You know, you got to give me an ace. So do teach them how to do multiple things.
Yeah.
No more one dimension. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, Marco from Tijuana says that he's excited that the fact that you will work with any players and what you have and provide education is one of the priorities and is part of integrating them into the development of their career.
Absolutely. You are very welcome, Marco.
Tell him thank you. Mm-hmm.
Well, and the philosophy of USA Volleyball, or at least one of the philosophies, is supposed to be the idea of the concept of the lifelong player. And if we're not helping the players develop skills in all facets of the game while they're with us, are they really going to keep playing? It's probably not going to be as fun for them.
Probably not.
And are they going to continue on to keep giving back to the sport as they matriculate? Because we want to make sure that they move on and still give back to the sport wherever possible.
Okay. Speaking of sending people places after college, Gordon's back with another question or a request. This is more of a request. Now, to preface this, Gordon is a finance professor at the University of Rhode Island. So I'll put that lead there. I love hearing about the growth of the young athletes, but my question is about the availability of one or more of these scholars who might consider graduate education, especially at the PhD level of finance at the University of Rhode Island. Any leads?
He's trying to recruit.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm thinking his newest coach there is Nikki Holmes at Rhode Island.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nikki just
Nikki
started,
as well. Yeah, I have a lot of my kids who have gone on to get their masters and are considering the PhD. I'm going into my 10th season, so tell him yes. He needs to shoot an email. We need to talk about opportunities for these young women as they graduate. Absolutely. And you can find me at BamaStateSports.com.
All right. He's getting close to retirement, so he's got some work to do now if he wants to get this rolling. Well, he might be getting close to retirement. Depends on what happens with the finances in the state of Rhode Island. We'll see. But that's another topic altogether.
He's not retiring. He's not.
No, he's not.
All right. How we looking, Ruth? Any other questions? Oh.
I guess I can ask one then.
Oh. Okay, go ahead.
What possessed both of you to really want and accept the fact is that not everybody wants to coach in an HBCU if they're Afro-American or Black, because I'm learning both the terms are used interchangeably. Like you said, Caucasian, I say white. Like I said, Scout the white girl. So my question is, what can you do for HBCU, and what trends, well, this is quite a few questions, what trends do you see that you're having an effect on bringing in more coaches into the HBCU that have more experience than what they've had in the past?
Rose, you go first.
Okay. I think what possessed me to go into the HBCUs, for one, it was 5 minutes from my house. And I had always helped at Alabama A&M when the other coach was there, Mrs. Austin, Betty Kelly Austin. And I was playing in Japan at the time, and I would go in and set her offense and her defense for her and spend about 2 weeks, 3 weeks with her, and then I would head on off to Japan. So I was kind of involved in the HBCU scene at the time, but didn't really know, much about the HBCUs. It was just the opportunity to coach, and I can coach anywhere. It doesn't have to be an HBCU or a PW or the PWI. I can coach anywhere. I just enjoy coaching. I enjoy sowing seeds back into the young women, giving them the opportunity to play good volleyball, learn the history of volleyball, no matter what school it is, at Martin Methodist or at the HBCU or at A&M, or I used to be at the high school, at Lee High School, to just give them back the history of volleyball and, my history, and give them the opportunity to play good volleyball no matter where it is. And so I just enjoy coaching, and I can coach anywhere. Okay, Penny?
I understood that, Rose. For me, I don't have a problem moving anywhere. We all love being wanted. And I was after I left Air Force, I went and moved to Memphis for 1 year, and I was at an all-girls school, private school, very, very plush, very, very affluent. And Alabama State came knocking, and I turned them down 3 times. And they were persistent, and I'm glad that they were. And I'm here, and I don't regret it. at all. I've enjoyed my time here. I've done some things, and I've done the first. You know, I won them their first SWAC championship. I've won the last 6 out of 7 years. I've done what I told them I would do. Rose and everybody else has made that completely difficult now. The coaching level has the IQ, all of the coaches, they've all risen to the occasion. Rose won the regular season, the last 2 seasons back to back, where I think I came in second the year before. We met up in the championship. We met up in the semis this year. Prairie View is on the rise. They've done some great things. Texas Southern has really given me a run for my money the last 4 to 5 years. The level of SWAC, MEAC, volleyball has risen tremendously, and no way do I want to discount the CIAA at the Division II level as well. It has been phenomenal. So now it's like Rose and I are always discussing things, making sure that we are still lifelong learners, because we don't mind, 1, helping each other out, but 2, asking questions. What should I do if this is happening? We don't mind sharing, but the level, the caliber of play has truly increased over the last 4 years. It really has. It's been very difficult. Rose beat University of Memphis. I know I've beaten UAB, and we've gone 5 and 4 with the Auburns and the Alabamas, and it doesn't matter. It's the level has risen.
Yeah, catching Florida in the first round of the NCAAs isn't the easiest thing in the world.
But when you got a 5A kid blocking a 6A kid, that tells you something. And our scores were so much better this year. We went 20-20 with them in 16, so we're getting there. We're seeing exponentially increase in how we score, and that's our kids learning how to problem solve on the court.
So the back end of this question had to do with attracting more experienced coaches to HBCU positions. Any thought on that?
I think it's happening. I think it's happening. What do you think, Rose?
I think it's happening because I think the HBCUs are showing, the administration is showing that they want good, solid knowledge at the HBCU in volleyball. It's not only happening in volleyball, it's happening in basketball and all the other sports also. But I think to attract them, I think they're wanting now to give back, and I think they're seeing that sometimes the HBCUs are that they do and can get good players, and they can be successful there. And being successful will bring those coaches that leave from playing to going into the coaching field, that the HBCU is okay. Come in, you can still be successful. You can move on from the HBCU back into the PWI school if you need to.
And I think at the end of the day, everything have to do with your salary pool. At the end of the day, it's all about what you can pay. If you want to get someone seasoned that, that's proven, then you got to put your money where your mouth is, bottom line. And we're a non-generating revenue sport, so they call us. But at the same time, volleyball is becoming very recognized, or we're getting more television time. So I think if you want to see it grow, we have to be able to have a salary pool to attract that type coach.
Okay, one more question, John, here. Hey, by the way, HBCU should be lucky to have you two knowledgeable coaches, and they should be proud to have you as role models in the South, from Ann Schilling in Alabama, the South, and all over. But here's a question from Mark Reister. Netflix is donating $140 million to HBCU. They only mention Grambling and Spelman. Will any of those dollars go to the HBCU schools?
Well, Grambling and Spelman are 2 HBCUs, but that's something that I think we need to look into. My question is, are they donating to the theater and arts and performing arts, or Are they donating to the athletic department? How does, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. Okay, I just left a message for him.
Okay.
We don't
But
care
thanks,
about
Mark,
the
because
message.
we're going to look into it.
So I don't care about the message, just where's the money? Show me the money.
Show us the money.
That's right. Ruth, looked like we lost John.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can handle this.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so Marco is back with Tijuana. It's incredible to see great, strong African-American women in positions that inspire, respect to Coach Rose and Coach Penny. Marco, we better give him a thumbs up.
Thanks, Marco.
Yes. Most definitely.
And
John's
is
back.
Yeah, John is back, and Christy from Iowa State is on.
Hey, Christy.
You know, I'm just really, I'm proud to be at the HBCU and at Alabama A&M and having the opportunity to train young women, whether they're African Americans, Chinese, or whatever. I'm glad that they gave me the opportunity to lead the program and be able to be successful, and they give me what I need that I can be successful. So I do appreciate that from Alabama A&M.
You know, as I do from Alabama State University and all the things that they do for women's sports, period. We have a female athletic director. My immediate athletic director is a male who is constantly in my ear, always cheering me on, asking, what do you need, coach? I'm here for you. And I think that's important, that you have an administration that's supportive and that you have a pipeline that you can go to. But at the end of the day, it's all about us leaving imprints in a lot of young women's lives. What's even more important, because of our climate today, is that I leave an imprint and I leave the door open for a woman that looks just like me.
Okay, a comment from Pamela Criswell, proud volleyball alum of the first degree granting HBCU, Lincoln University. Thank you for your service, ladies. She's coaching in high school and club now and attributes having great role models and mentors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions floating around out there, Ruth?
No, but I can create some.
You know, and I think, you know, we have to know, people need to know that we are available to come in and help train, help teach, in leadership, to help these young women in every area. If they need us, we are available.
Very good.
And we'll do it together.
Okay, so John, we did
Yes.
a minority clinic up in Chicago, and we had 16 college coaches, all black except Mike. We said we got 2 tokens. One was Ruth and one was Mike from UMass Boston with a performance trainer, Robert Selders, out of Dallas. We did it in the Michael Jordan facility.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Unbelievable, 80-some minority athletes came in to be trained by all these minority coaches. And then we had 20-some of them that went over to the South Side and went to Mother McAuley. And they said that they wished they would have known about the Mother McAuley event because they would have come to both. So that just goes to show you, it's not just white people going into other clinics. It's the black minority athlete that wants exposure from everybody. That goes from players that are white to white coaches, just like me.
Well, thank you, Ruth, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have had that opportunity in Chicago. And it's because of you and your constant and your persistent and relentless endeavors of always trying to expose, you know, young females to the sport. We really, really do appreciate you.
Appreciate that. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. John, thank you for letting me be part of today.
And no
Thanks,
problem.
John.
John, thank you for having us on.
Thank you both for coming out and enlightening us. Really appreciate it.
You bet.
We're all so much smarter now.
That's
We're
right.
good. That's
Which is
good.
the whole
And we're
point,
not
right?
gonna,
That's the whole
we're not going to
point.
pigeonhole any more kids.
That's right. Lifelong learners.
That's right. We're going to get down on defense and coverage.
Yes, ma'am, I am. But if it's one-on-one and we committed, we're good. We commit block. We good.
I took care of the block.
All right.
That's all we got to do.
That's right. It's all I meant. Wait, didn't we have a question from Dave about whether somebody
I
was able
answered
to
it. He
block
wanted to know
somebody
if
else?
Penny had ever blocked Ruth Lewonson. I know because they both played for the Dallas Bells.
Thank you. Hello. And let me make this known. I hold the highest blocking efficiency in Major League Volleyball. Tell them, Ruth.
Okay.
I still have my plaque. Thank you. Should I go get that plaque for you right quick?
Yes.
And show it to you.
You want me to, Ruth?
Do you have it?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, let's see. John, this is too good that she can go and find this. We should have told her to take her screen with her to show us whether she cleaned her house today or not.
1988
Oh my God.
blocking efficiency.
Ah, all right.
See, that did not even take her long to go find, Ruth.
I just want you to know.
Yes. Amen. Hey, ring that cowbell from the Dallas Bells.
I don't have that close by, Ruth.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Gordon wants to let you both know that his grandmother was a Johnson C. Smith graduate and the first public school
Awesome.
teacher in North Carolina.
Absolutely. Awesome.
All right.
Great job.
Outstanding.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you both for coming on. Thanks to Ruth for helping coordinate this and get this,
Thanks,
get this
Ruth.
going.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, everybody out
John,
there
thank
on
you.
both